All right, guys, listen up. Next fight coming up for Canelo Alvarez. The rumor mill is back at it again. This time we're talking about Canelo. We're talking about his future fight. Lots of rumors going around, man. Is it going to be Benavidez? Is it going to be somebody else? We also have Jaime Munguia coming out of the woodwork saying that their fight might be the one to make on Cinco de Mayo. So if you don't know who Jaime Munguia is, he just faced Derevyanchenko. He maintained his record, so he is still undefeated, 35-0, 28 wins by knockout. So an impressive resume for a relatively young fighter. I believe Munguia is 27 years old. He's got a great reach. He's got tons of durability. Everything you want out of a Latino fighter. He's in the mix. He's ready for it. And against Derevyanchenko, it was a war. The output in that fight was crazy. All of these fights that I've seen from him as of recent are high output fights. So when we talk about the matchup potentially with Canelo and Munguia, I don't think there needs to be that much volume. The reason why I say that is because when we look at recent year Canelo, we see that the output is lower. He's not as slick moving. Even though he says this is the best Canelo, no one can beat this Canelo against an unwilling Jermell Charlo. Yes, he's cutting the ring off better. Yes, he's landing in the heavy shots. He's sitting into it. But we're not seeing the slick boxer, slick head movement Canelo that we're used to seeing. He wanted to demonstrate it. You could tell he wanted to demonstrate it towards the end of the fight when he kind of realized, hey, I'm whooping up on this guy, and Jermell is just not want to be here. He wants to survive. If there's anybody that's still undefeated, it's Time. Father Time is undefeated. The body wears down. Canelo, you got a lot of mileage. There's nothing I'm not saying that people don't know, even the fans, right? So when you have this guy, Jaime Munguia, coming off of a crazy victory against Derevyanchenko, who sat there and traded with him all 12 rounds. I mean, this was a high output fight. Ukrainian fighters, again, they are high output fighters. They cut angles, they stay inside, and a guy like Derevyanchenko had a chin on him. When we look at the last fight for Jaime and we look at the last fight for Canelo, I see a younger fighter that is going to have the durability to stand up to some of Canelo's shots. And I don't mean to say that, Derevyanchenko has got as much power as Canelo. I don't think that's the case. But when you have that much output coming from Derevyanchenko and you have Munguia staying up, willing to trade and recovering in easy amounts of time, staying ready to go, then that's a problem. That's a problem against a Canelo that does not move around as well anymore. And when you have 2 fights left on PBC, and the prospect of fighting Benavidez is still on the table for Mexican Independence Day in September, I don't know how smart it would be to fight 2 back-to-back losses. And yes, as a Canelo fan, I am thinking that a motivated Jaime Munguia could throw enough output, withstand enough shots, and outmaneuver the Canelo Alvarez of recent years. The sad reality is that Munguia would not only be a good appetizer, but it would be a true test of how much Canelo really has left in this game. And with Canelo having these exhaustion issues, even though he trained at Lake Tahoe for the last fight and he was up at altitude and he's got his endurance back, so to speak, Father Time undefeated. And Munguia is a tough motherfucker. That's a tough motherfucker. This is not a Jermell Charlo that's going to run around and dance with you. This is a guy that's going to stand in front of you, and he's going to wait to trade. The only thing Munguia needs to worry about against a guy like Canelo is his defense was not where it needed to be against Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko throwing a lot more volume, was making a lot more hits, land. You can't let that many shots land from Canelo. That's a fact. That's a fact. I don't think it's going to be the volume. It's going to be the power output. Canelo lands clean shots for 5-6 rounds at a time, 4 rounds of clean shots. Your defense isn't tight. You're going to gas out. You're going to be overwhelmed by the moment, and you're going to be ego fighting before you know it. However, Canelo on the other side, we don't know what his chin is really looking like recently. Over the last few years, we've seen those fights at Bivol, even Miguel Cotto back in 19. We've seen him take shots. We know he's got a great chin. But in this age, and especially against Charlo or even Ryder, not really taking many hits. We'll see if he puts his I'm never going to fight another Latino fighter or Mexican fighter aside for this, because Benavidez is still there waiting in the wakes. I honestly think that this will be one of the toughest challenges for Canelo to date. at least in the recent 3 years, at least. That's all I got. I'm done.